on the dime. My colleagues said we need to get started.
Sounds good.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
With us this morning, we have Chairman Roberts, Director Shaw, we have Commissioner Galvin, Commissioner Norton, Commissioner Kramer, Chairman Nate Jackson. See, we have both attorneys, Attorney Page, Attorney Goldstein, Attorney Brown, and Jason, and I can't never remember your name.
Ryan.
Attorney Robert Ryan, General Counsel. I'll give you a new title. Okay. And we also have Jason. I see Barry. Barry was back there, but I don't see him anymore. Chris, okay. And there's, I'm sorry, Commissioner Barker, and we also have Commissioner Melton, Debbie Melton present. And with that said and done, Attorney Page, we can get started.
Good morning, members of this committee. I appreciate your time this morning. Ms. Brown and I have worked hard to try to get these reports to you earlier. I think we have an intention of being 2 weeks early in the future. We've had a paralegal leave us, so we're operating without one now, but we're hoping that definitely at the push of Ms. Brown here that we get that report out early, and I would like to thank her for that. So I hope that gave you a little more time. I know this is quite an extensive report. Some of that is a good thing. I think it's a reflection that legal's starting to get caught up on the complaint processing side, and so we're starting to be able to put cases on here a little earlier rather than waiting till they absolutely must be before this commission, keeping everything ahead of the ball. But as always, we're here to take your questions. We do have one represent at the end from our newest attorney, Ashley Gino. It's a fairly simple case that I've actually worked on, so I did not ask her to come down. But we also have two additional cases that Robin Ryan's been working for us, and so she's here available for questions on those represents as well. So as always, we're here. And any comments even about just the general form of the report as we've been working on it, kind of progressing it forward, please let us know.
Well, I can simply say this, Commissioner Jackson, that I really appreciate the time that we got the report this time, Jason. You know, we got it about 4 days earlier. That was great. Okay, well, congratulations, legal. So I think Commissioner Norton has some questions, and I got a couple. So we're gonna get started.
Makes me nervous. You just have a couple because I've got a few. That's what you get for getting it out 4 days early. I get more time to look at it. Thank you very much, and thank you for getting the report out early. It did help in time to analyze each case, spend a little more time on them. And what I noticed in this particular review was there were some differences, and one of them was consistencies. And if you'll go to case number 16 on page 9 of 90, the first one that I brings your attention is the open title, I guess the fee schedule on it. I know there's a lot of differences, and I've not seen that in the past. Like this one was negotiated, I guess, or whatever, was $100 an open title instead of what we normally see is $500. And could you speak to that?
Yes, actually, and Jason actually pointed this one out to me as well, and so I've had a little time to think about it and talk about it. Typically, our agreed citation schedule asks for $500 per open title. Usually, though, when I see an open title, what we normally see are a few amongst many. I think in this scenario, this is a small operation that when I start to see that every title in their possession is open, and if they've never had an offense before, it makes me think this is not someone trying to keep a title open. This is someone who doesn't understand that titles are to be closed. And so because this came up in the context of an investigation, not an inspection, they also didn't get an opportunity to cure yet, like they maybe would in an inspection. Our inspectors usually go back, allow them to close in titles, explain why we don't allow that, and then close it out. And so that is one of the reasons I try to strike a different tone with this one. We have no history. It's a small operation. It seemed to be a misunderstanding of the rule on closing titles in period rather than an intent to preserve certain titles for whether that's to skip title or whatever it is that they think they're going to do with an open title. Definitely comfortable going back to the $500 if we'd like to stick with that for consistency. Just seemed like a kind of a steep penalty in light of the ability for them to cure. But maybe we could do $500 for it with an opportunity to cure to go down from our normal. I don't know.
Well, consistency is important. And myself as a large dealer, I always thought the $500 was punitive. I thought it was too high for a lot of reasons you just said. And of course, when a small dealer could have a 10 titles, it would come in, and our dealership, we might have 100 that comes in. So where do you balance the subjectivity of what's fair and what's not? And that's I would be more inclined to stick to the penalty and then measure the concerns to see if there's a difference, because when I look at it, I see no disparity in other than just the fine itself. I see no reason behind it. So when I look at this, I just say, well, what was the reasoning behind that? So as us to review these cases, we can't see that. So it creates an opportunity of doubt. Was it right? So we don't know right and wrong because all we see is a difference, and it's throughout. There's some that's just one that's $500. But you see this one has changed. So I would suggest and recommend that we don't. I mean, unless you want to put additional information on here to tell us, why, we can't make a conscious effort to concur if we don't know the facts behind the change.
Sure. Something that we've done in our other committees is try to make a more express paragraph if we do vary from our penalty of the factors that we took into consideration. So maybe in the future, if we have a one-off where we feel like this is going to be, if we follow the agreed citation, this is going to have an unusual effect on a particular respondent, we can do a special indication in that paragraph so that it's really clear on why we deviated. And that way you all can either take that into consideration and agree with us, or if you'd like to go back to the citation, you know exactly why. So we could I can work to expand that in the future, definitely.
Well, I would like to see the citation at least consistent, I mean, dealer, if I have a dock fee, I got to charge one, I got to charge all. So if you're charging one less here than the other, there's no consistency. It could bring up a red flag.
Sure.
I don't know if you have guidelines or what, but I think there should be some kind of consistency when it comes to this.
Absolutely, and we try to follow that agreed citation as we can. But one of the things that's important to consider is we're always here to try to drive ultimately that penalty is to force compliance, right? And so when we start to only apply it for the sake of consistency, it actually, under the law, works against us to say you're not taking into consideration each individual case's facts, and it puts us at a greater risk of someone to say that this penalty is arbitrary. And so I try to, in each person, even though we have this agreed citation schedule for our most basic factors, when we have something unusual like a very small dealer that wasn't actually, they got caught up in a complaint with another dealer, and it seemed to be a business practice misunderstanding rather than a purposeful wrongdoing or negligence. I try to take that into consideration as a mitigating factor to what we normally assess. But if we'd like to do this one at $500 a title, that's what we've always done, and that is what the agreed citation schedule at least indicates is our penalty. So I'd like to adjust that up to $500 times 33, or how would we like to proceed on that penalty?
I'm bringing it up for debate.
I think that's a little steep. I mean,
Yeah.
I think going forward we should have more of a balance, okay, than to determine. On this particular case right there, that's just a substantial amount.
I agree. I mean, I think the 500 per violation's a lot. But I'm not really debating this particular one. I'm just trying to discover what is the precedent we're going to set for establishing a fine.
We're actually in discussion right now with our centralized complaint division about our agreed citation schedule. They've charged me with kind of going through it and making sure it's still consistent with what this commission believes. Some of the things I've done, I've suggested that they stop issuing them for unlicensed activity out of our centralized division, because I think unlicensed activity is one of those things that it really depends on what situation you're looking at, on the severity, and so issuing out a flat penalty without looking at the facts on that is no good. So maybe something here is if the commission wants to discuss it, is we could adjust our agreed citation amount. Right now it is $500 per title issued flat out. That is what the agreed citation from this commission states. But if the commission is looking at reducing that, or would like to in the future, if you think that's too punitive, that's definitely something we can adjust. So I don't know what context we want to do that on, if you all wanted to vote on that, or if you want to talk about it at the next meeting, and I can bring you a new proposed agreed citation schedule to review.
I'd like to do a little more homework on that, but your opening comments leads us to believe that needs to take place, because obviously there's some scenarios that need to be considered, and we can make it probably to enforce compliance. You could probably come up with something, make it more consistent.
Happy to do that.
Okay.
Any more comments? Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. I'll try to hurry, Nate, promise. On number 48, it seems we have a dealer here that basically has had issues in the past, and obviously
What page is that?
number 20, page 24. Apparently, I looked at the disciplinary report, and apparently this guy's been around a while, and he's alleged activity occurring in a new location. So, I mean, my question is, should this dealer's license be revoked? Can you give us some insight on this?
Yes, this is this is a case where we don't have a license to revoke. We recently held a hearing. You all might. It was before a judge. We assessed this individual a $90,000 civil penalty and costs. This individual was also arrested for theft and multiple counts related to their operation of the dealerships. And I've developed a relationship with the Memphis Police Department. They are working with us to try to find new solutions to this. This one is on here for just kind of a slight technicality, which is that I'm also seeking the Attorney General's office assistance in this matter to enjoin this individual. Therefore, if we were to even see them trying to sell vehicles, that they would be arrested for that. That's what I'd like the end result of this case to be. The Attorney General usually wants to see more than one order of this board violated. So right now I have one. He's violated it. He's opened another dealership. He's going through theft. He's out on bond. I wanted to take this case quickly to a hearing before a judge, show them, yes, it's still going on, get a second order. That way I can show the AG that there's a pattern of this board being ignored, and that would prompt them to want to step in as the Attorney General and go down to Chancery Court to seek an injunction. So, and unfortunately, this is probably, like, I call it my white whale case. This is the one I've been chasing and wanting to work on. So this is my next kind of procedural step to get a bigger agency to come out with a bigger stick.
Trying to stop them for sure. All right, move on to page 26 of 90, case number 52. The complaint number 2 looks like the respondent has moved, and I was a little concerned because I'm very familiar with this, and as a dealer we move and we have name changes, but the dealer was to submit a change of address form. I'm not familiar with a change of address form. That's a whole new process, and it looks like that has not been handled. It's more than a form. Is there something I'm missing on that one?
He needs to do a full change of, needs a new change of address form, I think, completed. And our in this case, our owner also is not licensed.
Okay.
So this is a person we've attempted to work with in the past to bring into compliance. And ultimately, despite, I think, extraordinary efforts both from legal and from staff of making themselves available, this person just has not done the things that they need to. He'll call me and let me know he's going to do stuff. It seems to be some semi-attempt to comply. I called you. I told you I'm moving. But at the end of that call, I obviously tell them they need to update their license, and that doesn't occur.
Number 53 on page 27.
Yes.
I had to read this one 3 times.
Yes, sorry. It's quite complex.
And to try to understand, and my final comment is, who's running the dealership and what license? Because it says he's winding down, closing, somebody's still operating. I mean, could you clarify this?
Absolutely. So the scenario, this is, in speaking with the investigator, this is our best, this is the short version of what we think happened despite what everyone said. This is a dealership that was being run by a licensed dealer for many years, no complaints, everything seemed to be normal. This individual is actually a former employee of the white whale case I was just talking about. This is someone who used to be involved with that business many years ago. He's been a licensed salesperson for many years, but a license almost is never actually active due to being behind on child support payments. So this individual met the original dealer and started working with him at some capacity. We believe that they negotiated some deal where they would be business partners, but that relationship broke down quickly and rapidly due to disagreements about how that was going to work. This individual, the respondent here, that dealer decided, you know what, I thought I was going to pass my business to you. I'm trying to get out of it. I thought we were going to work together. I don't like working with you. I'm just going to close my dealership down and start winding it down. You can help me do that, but ultimately I'm not going to give this dealership to you in the end. Just help me wind it down. And instead of doing that, the respondent here decided to continue on as if he was going to have this dealership from the previous owner. He started getting temp tags, started selling vehicles despite his license being inactive. The reality is the original owner may or may not have had some knowledge that this was going on, but when they started not liking each other, decided to complain. But there's no real proof of that. That's just kind of our impression of the case. But ultimately, this respondent here knows that what they need. They've been in this business a long time. They have associates that make their credibility on our end questionable, and we believe that the fault and what we need to be looking at is this person here to start a line of complaints to indicate that despite their license not being active, they're trying to operate a business. So the short of it is, it looks like a broken apart relationship, and this respondent decided to take over a business without permission.
Thanks for the explanation.
Sure.
All right, so skipping to page 32, case number 64. This may be related to another case, but, and I'm not sure if this is a typo. It says closed 2/22/2018. I mean, I didn't understand it. Is this a dealership closed? Is there a license?
This is the one we just talked about.
Okay, I thought so.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, on page 35, number 70. And I just didn't know there was no resolution. I didn't know. Was this issue resolved?
No, it has not been resolved. They still have not received the title. That's why I'm recommending a formal hearing.
Okay, I'm good with it. I just didn't know if it was resolved. Okay, on page 42, case number 88, says the annual inspection revealed that had moved to a new location and had advised the Motor Vehicle Commission of a new location. Then there were 8 open titles. This is one where, we did charge $500 per occurrence, and that's consistent with what we've done in the past. But my question is there a new license being applied for at that location, new location?
Not that I'm aware of. We could check into that. I have to check with with Jason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they're at a new location, there needs to be a new license to go with that location. You guys capture that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on page 58 of 90, item number 124. I didn't see a cure for this for the consumer. I know there was a fine assessed of $2,000, which I agree with a fine for false, fraudulent, or deceptive acts. But there was no return of the $1,400 to consumers. Is there any information on that?
No, there is not. The consumer was sent all the surety bond information to submit a claim.
I saw that.
Okay. So hopefully they are able
Okay.
to recoup that.
Okay. On page 63, case number 139. My notes are what was false or deceptive on this case. I'm having trouble understanding what was the deception. And the complainant had agreed to work with the respondent agreed to work with the complainant, and I didn't understand what was false there or deceptive.
Essentially, the respondent had misrepresented the condition of the vehicle, and at every turn, the respondent was claiming that he would help and resolve the issues, but he never did, and was unresponsive to our office as well when we made further inquiry to follow up on if that has been resolved.
Well, my question is, was the vehicle sold as is? I mean, if it was sold as is, was there a there's no deception?
Yeah, I believe it was not sold as
Okay.
is.
All right. Well,
that was the issue, and there is some. Although it indicates here there was not any history, there has been some history with this particular
Okay.
respondent.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's just not within the past 5 years.
Page 72 of 90, case number 157. This does not appear to be a dealer, and I didn't realize what was the false advertising and unlicensed sales activity. If it's an individual, why would he need a license?
Yes, in this case, the respondent claims that he was selling those as an individual, but it turned out that that wasn't the case. There was numerous ads indicating that he was making multiple sales, so they weren't individual sales. It turned out, following the investigation, that they were selling several cars.
I mean, were they under the allowed
Yeah.
5? They were under the allowed 5 or over the allowed 5?
They were over, but they were operating under a dealer name as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that. So, okay. Well, that makes sense. Case number 160 on page 73. We have a dealer that's operating under an expired license, and my question would be: is he still in operation? Is the license applied for?
We would have to check on that. I don't believe so. I'll have to ask Jason to see if there is an application that has been submitted. They expired 9/30/2017.
Saw that. Yeah, that's not, doesn't appear to be just an oversight if they haven't applied for the new application. I can't imagine as a dealer getting by with that. I can't. So I don't know why we let this guy get by with it. Okay, example here to item number 165, case number 165 on page 81. This is just a question to the staff as far as if we assess a penalty and the dealer closes and moves on. I mean, what's the process for trying to collect that fine if he's no longer in business?
So typically, there's a couple scenarios. If they close down and there is a civil penalty, that doesn't necessarily mean we can't continue to pursue the individual owner. Doesn't necessarily mean the case is dead in the water. Sometimes, though, if this commission is seeking a penalty and they have been closed and we cannot locate them, we may close and flag those cases with the intention that if they ever reapply, that it pretty much unpauses the case, just as if we pretty much just put on hold till they come back and we can find them. 165 is a little unique in that this was a divorce winding down, that the business, they had an assessed a penalty and a notice of violation. The police were involved. There's a lot of, I didn't do that. It was my husband. No, I have a restraining order. It was honestly, it's one of the messier cases I've done. I went to take it to a hearing and ultimately was attempting to convince the parties just to agree, both of them, to agree to the revocation of the license. One of them, I refused to accept it unless they both signed orders because, one did, one didn't. It just ended up being one of those things. The business is unwound, and it was so aggressive that I decided that this is one of those situations where even though I know where they are, they did have some paperwork mess. There were no injured consumers. This business is closed, and the relationship is done. But if they ever did come back, even as individuals, I told them, I'll close this out. We won't go to a hearing since I can't even have both of you as witnesses since you have restraining orders. But if either of you tries to re-enter this business, you will address this full penalty regardless of whose fault it was. So that's kind of the resolution to quite a domestic case. But you're right. There are opportunities to still collect on closed businesses, depending on, usually what I like to look at is where there's consumers injured that would warrant the resources to continue to pursue someone even if they've left the industry. So,
For several of those, not just what was, I didn't know. So, all right, just a couple other things. On case number 177, on page 88 of 90, appears we had some new information on this case, and I'm not really sure what relevance the new information had. on the amount of the penalty. The new information was a sensitivity thing, and I just didn't understand how it affect the outcome of the penalty.
Yes. When we first presented this to you, we were very skeptical about what the respondent was stating about that these vehicles were used for a not-for-profit and for the needy and for transporting those that needed, medical treatment. So the recommendation was that it was for unlicensed activity because they were reported by one of the clerk's office. When we further looked into it, we found that they were, in fact, doing what they were saying they were doing, meaning providing vehicles for the needy. They were buying low-cost vehicles to provide some sort of transportation. So we're considering that as a mitigating circumstance. I'm recommending closing this matter.
Well, I mean, are they over the 5 per year they're selling? They're allowed to sell?
Yes, they
So
were
well,
at that time.
Well, if they're continuing, are they required to have a dealer's license to do this?
Well, this was one of those situations where we have to think about whether we're being reasonable because they operate on a shoestring budget. There would be a lot required for them to do that, and these vehicles are just actually for those that really need transportation.
I'm debating that. I think they're doing really good for what their cause is, but does that? I mean, the law's the law. I mean, it doesn't matter on what level. I mean, they've got to comply. So I'm not criticizing them for what they're doing, but are we just setting arbitrary precedents based on good deeds, or I mean, is there if they're going to transfer titles to individuals or whoever, if they're going to do over the 5, they're going to be required to have a dealer. Am I wrong there? So I just didn't see the relevance to the new information. I mean, it doesn't matter what they are. If they're outside the scope of the law, we can't just say just because of the special needs we can overlook that. And my heart goes to them and what they're doing, obviously.
Right, and that was my thought process in making a recommendation here to close with a letter of warning. But we could just strike that and keep this as a unlicensed activity case with a civil penalty.
Well, I mean, I'm not advocating we fine them the $5,000. I'm just going to say if they're going to keep doing what they're doing, they got to change how they do it. That's all I'm saying.
Right. It doesn't appear that they are going to be applying for a license
Okay.
because of their situation.
Yeah, like Commissioner Galvin just pointed out, it goes back to being consistent, with how we do this. I mean, when we flag it and close it and flag it with a letter of warning, and that we should say you can't do it this way unless you want to get a license and do it the right way. I mean, that's unfortunate, but that's the law. I mean, that's what they have to do. I'm making a new recommendation.
That recommendation is that they need to be notified if they're going to continue operating, they would have to apply for a license.
That is correct.
Okay.
And I hate to end on such a sour note for some needy good people, but that concludes my observations.
Would you so the original recommendation was civil penalty in the amount of $5,000 for unlicensed activity. Would you like to just keep that?
No,
Okay.
we're okay with waiving the 5,000. But like Commissioner said, we need to notify them that if they're going to continue to do this, they're going to be required to have a dealer's license.
Chairman Roberts, you have any comments, any question about the report? Okay. Anyone have? I just got one on page 47, and it was just that I didn't see the total amount of the penalty. Got to go way back. Maybe I should have got mine out of the way before you did yours, Commissioner Norton. It was page 47, case 100.
Oh, case 100.
Yeah.
Probably mine if I had to. Oh, here we go. Yes. So this one, I didn't add it all up, but the idea was. Oh, this is Shalina's. I'm sorry. I had one like that, similar to Shalina's there.
I'm sorry.
That was my fault.
Could you repeat your question?
It didn't have a total amount. It had
Oh,
the
okay.
fine listed, but it didn't have the total amount, and I didn't calculate it.
Okay, so it's going to be 2,500 is the total amount of the civil penalty.
I had some question, but my colleague over there got them answered. So that was the only one he missed. Okay.
I have one. Commissioner Galvin, page 84 of 90, 172. This seems to go, I've probably read this 4 times. Can you give me the cliff notes of exactly how this is operating or what's going on here? Because so many respondents and.
We originally started with 7 respondents in this matter. And what happened was we had opened the case against respondents 6 and 7. The problem has been that we are unable to find them. They were engaged in unlicensed activity. 6 occurrences for respondent 6, and I'm not sure, for respondent 7 sold 5. So that's why we are recommending now that it be closed, because we're unable to locate them. We've done our various searches that we have available to us, and we just cannot find these 2 individuals that were salesmen. It was unlicensed sales.
Just to add it to that, if your question had been answered, I think if we're going to close it, we need to flag it too.
Yeah, it's marked as close and flag.
That's 171 we were speaking of, right? 172. 2? Okay. I was looking at the wrong one, sorry. I was looking at 171. More comments, any more questions? Okay. I guess we need a motion to adopt the report with the exception of 177, page 177 and 88, where we notified that they did apply for a dealership license. For 42, which is 88, I think we wanted location and a new license. That was it. Right. And on 160, page 73, we talked about checking on the license and make sure it has been applied for. Okay? Did I miss anything? Okay.
Make a motion to adopt the legal report with the stated exceptions.
Okay. I have a second? Second. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn,
Members
please.
of the commission, I'm so sorry. We have a supplement as well. I don't know if you want to look at that and vote on that one. And Robin is here if you have any questions.
How about the supplement?
Sorry about that.
Is it on the iPad?
It's on that? Okay. It's where? Number 15.
Very last thing.
Okay. Commissioner, I concur with the recommendations.
Do I have a second concur with that recommendation? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, ayes have it, so ordered. And that's on the supplement. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor, aye, signify by saying aye.
5 minutes.
Got 5 minutes. Now you're in the hand of Chairman Roberts.
Begin in about 5 minutes. You call the roll, please.
Chairman Roberts,
Here.
Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Lee's let us know that he's ill, and so he would not be able to make this meeting. Jim Galvin.
Here.
Commissioner Clayton. Commissioner Fox.
Here.
Commissioner Kramer.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Melton.
Here.
Commissioner Murray.
Here.
Commissioner Norton.
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn.
Here.
Commissioner Tomaso.
Here.
Commissioner Levy. Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Barker.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Was the meeting notice published, Ms. Shaw?
This meeting's date, time, and location have been noticed on the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission website, included as part of this year's meeting calendar since July 24, 2017. Additionally, the agenda for this month's meeting has been posted on the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission website since April 18, 2018. This meeting has also been noticed on the tn.gov website.
Look at the proposed agenda for today, and we would entertain a motion to approve it or amend it.
Commissioner Jackson, motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Jackson, motion to adopt.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Barker. Any discussion or concerns? Hearing none, chair calls for a voice vote. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. If you would look at your minutes from the January 22nd meeting, that would be January 22nd of 2018, of course.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Fox, seconded by Commissioner Melton. Any discussion or comments regarding the motion or the agenda? Hearing none, the chair calls for a voice vote. Those in favor of the motion to approve say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Okay. Is y'all ready to move to salesperson's appeals? Are these all salespersons? There are no dealer appeals?
I think there may be a dealer appeal in here. There's not? No dealer appeals?
We have several this morning, and the chair will call your name, and if you approach the podium up here, first thing we'll do is ask the staff to give us a statement for reason of denial. Then we'll ask you for a little history, and if you have someone you brought with you sponsoring you or in support of your appeal, please bring them with you when you come up. Okay, Amanda Maxwell, Battle Creek Power Sports, Jasper, Tennessee.
Roberts, just as a note, instead of a separate document that has the statutory references, like we've done in the past where you'd kind of have to go back to the library and flip through, we tried to put the statutory references in each person's package that you're looking at. So if you'll flip through, for example, for the first one, Ms. Maxwell, if you'll flip through, you'll see the denial letter, the memorandum, and then there should be the statutory reference right after that. And that should be on all of the applicants.
Want to read part of that into the record each time?
I will just be reading the memo into the record at the beginning. The statutory reference is just for the members to look at in case you have questions as to what their conviction was for. And again, it's included in each person's package, so you don't have to exit the library to go to a separate document.
Ms. Maxwell, Amanda Maxwell, is that you? Come right ahead, ma'am. The podium right there. There's a.
I'm going to read a brief
Please do.
memo. In the case of Ms. Maxwell, the documented convictions is for conspiracy to distribute and possess with intent to distribute a mixture and substance containing methamphetamine on March 7th, 2016. Applicant received 21 months in prison and 3 years of supervised release. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated Section 55-17-114A1C until approximately March of 2025.
Maxwell, if you'd give us a little history, and we're not looking for guilt or innocence of the felony that you were convicted of. That's not part of this deliberation. Just tell us how you got where you are and where you're going from here.
I'd like to start by saying I'm a different woman that stands here today. I've made bad choices and decisions in my past and I have accepted full responsibility for my actions. I have completed hours of cognitive behavior therapy and continued follow-up treatment. I am a single mother of 2 boys, Ethan, who is 14, and Elias, who is 3. I've worked hard to be a positive influence in their life, and my number one goal is to be a good mother and financially stable for my children. I've been employed at Battle Creek Power Sports for 7 months. They are aware of my past, and they support me in my sales. With the opportunity to advance in my career and to provide for my children for something that is very important to me. And lucky enough to have employers who have been my friends and have watched me witness my struggles, and they are able to see past my mistakes and for the person that I am and have become. I respectfully ask you to see past the mistakes that I made and not let that be the moment that defines me. I ask that you reconsider the denial of my sales license and give me a chance to move forward in my career. Thank you.
We'll ask the commission members if there are questions for Ms. Maxwell.
Commissioner Vaughn, have you had any trouble since this incident occurred?
My only conviction in one time, and I've not been in trouble since.
And you said that you're doing ongoing treatment. Can you kind of expand upon that a little bit?
It's a TDAP program. It's where I go once a week, and I do like just a counseling, kind of like an AA meeting, kind of.
Do you have drug testing done now?
Yes, I do random drug testing.
Okay.
It's through CADIS. It's a place in Chattanooga. I call once a night, and then they give me a color, and if my color is called, I go and take a drug test.
Alvin, how did you come about with the Battle Creek Power Sports? I mean, as far as employment, did you know somebody?
I knew the owner, and
Okay.
when I went and talked to her, she knows about my past. I was upfront and honest with her, and she was willing to give me a second chance. They were here with me today to support me. Customer service.
Commissioner Vaughn, I have one more question. For your conviction, were you selling or using or both?
It was a conspiracy charge, yes. Oh, so yes, I was doing both. I'm sorry.
Maxwell, did you bring someone with you from your
Yes, sir.
store? Ma'am, would you like to approach the commission and identify yourself, please, ma'am?
I'm Samantha Brown. I am the General Manager, Sales and Finance Manager of Battle Creek Power Sports. Amanda has been working alongside of me for the past 7 months. She is exquisite. She is wonderful with our customers and client base. People relate to her. They know her. They're very comfortable with her. And she's done nothing but excel in everything that we've asked her to do. So Vanessa, who was initially going to be here, wants to apologize for not being able to make it, so she asked me to stand in her place, and I'm proud to represent Amanda here today because she can do nothing but
Questions for, was it Ms. Brown? Any questions for?
Yes, I have a question. Is your company, do you have a drug testing or a drug policy there at your store?
It's random, yes. They have, so initially when you apply, they will ask you to pass a drug screening. Everybody does. There's no tolerance for drugs or alcohol.
Further questions or comments, or is there a motion that the commission would like to make?
Make a motion that we grant the license.
Grant the license, and it's seconded by, who was that, Commissioner Barker? Okay. Any discussion of the motion to grant the license? Hearing none, Chair will call for a roll call vote. Aye will be to grant the license, and no will be to not grant the license. Ms. Shaw.
White,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Melton,
Yes.
Commissioner Barker,
Yes.
Commissioner Fox,
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Norton,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso,
Yes.
Chairman Roberts.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ms. Mashel, congratulations. Thank you, guys. Good luck with your career. Andrew Haggard. Mr. Haggard. Brothers Automotive, Tullahoma, Tennessee.
In the case of Mr. Haggard, the documented conviction is for sale of Schedule II drug and delivery of Schedule II drugs on June 18, 2007. Applicant received a sentence of 11 years to the Tennessee Department of Corrections. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 55-17-114-A1C until approximately June of 2023.
Haggard, good morning. Would you give us a little history of how you got into this situation and where you're going?
I'm a little nervous, so you got to excuse me.
All right. This is conversational. This is not.
Yes, sir. Well, as you can tell by the dates, I was 19 at the time. I'm 32 now, and I accept full responsibility for my actions. For the crime I committed, and I paid. I did a little over 3 years for it, and I've been on parole for it ever since. I've only got 1 year left on parole on it. I'm almost done. And I do take drug tests randomly with him, and I kind of, it was just a mistake I made when I was young, man, and I've tried to work past it, and I gotta say, man, I was, it was dumb, and I've tried to, I've found an interest in cars, and I've got 4 kids that I got custody of, and I raise them myself. I don't have a girlfriend or a wife that lives with me. It's just me, and I took an interest in selling cars, and I really want to make this my career. You know what I'm saying? This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I used to own my own detail business, so I've always had an interest in cars, you know what I mean? And I used to, and then when I got in trouble, of course, I lost that, and, I'm just trying to pick up and, pick my life back up and, fix things. Like I said, I got 4 kids I'm raising, and I got custody of all of them, and, I just want to, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Where's the mother of the children?
The mother? She's actually in jail right now. But, me and her's been separated for years. We're not together, you know what I mean? We've been separated for years. I got a 10-year-old, I got an 8-year-old, I got a 5-year-old, and I got a 2-year-old. My 2-year-old is actually with my girlfriend now, but we don't live together, you know what I mean? We live in 2 separate houses.
And this career to me, getting my license, my salesperson license, is actually a step forward to us, coming together as a family. You know what I mean? We want to buy a house together, and we want to, raise we got a child together to raise, and she wants to help me raise my 3 kids. You know what I mean? And this is just a step forward.
Your ex-wife that's still incarcerated?
Yes, sir. She's only in the county jail, but she's still incarcerated.
Okay. Was she part of the same incident which got you?
No, sir. No, sir. This just happened like a year or 2 ago, I guess, and she was just convicted. It was only, I think she filed a false police report or something. We don't really talk so much, so I don't really, I don't really know the details of it. You know what I mean?
And you have a girlfriend now?
Yeah, I do have a girlfriend. Yes, sir.
Is she a good person?
A very good person. I mean, she's really been like such a backbone to me, and I mean, she's been there for me through all of this, and she supported me, and I don't mean like financially supported me, because I do work, I still work, and I actually help my friend, at the car lot, and he's the one trying to give me a chance to, actually have something new, do something different in life, and I just want to seize the opportunity, sir. That's it.
Bring somebody with you?
Yes, sir.
Would that person like to come forward? Good morning, sir. Would you like to address the commission in regard to Mr. Haggard?
I've known Mr. Haggard probably 12 years. Worked for me. I managed a rent-to-own company in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Crusader Rent-to-Own. Always done all his job duties, always great, always on time. Then he did run into trouble. Always kind of kept base with each other. I talked to him as he was incarcerated, and then he got out, and then I've opened this car lot, so I wanted to. Always stood by me, from day one when I had him hired as a salesman. I mean, he's a good guy.
Questions?
How long has he worked for you this time?
Sir?
How long has he worked for you this time?
Probably last 8 months.
Yeah.
Commissioner Vaughn, I have questions for Mr. Haggard. Have you had any trouble since this conviction?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm hiding in the corner.
I was convicted in 2007, and I was violated for a drug test in 2009. 2 years after that. That's actually when I kind of went and done the 3 years. I only done I think 4 months the first time when I was. I didn't really learn my lesson at that point. You know what I mean? But when I went 2009 and didn't come home till the end of 2011. That was when it kind of, it really sunk in on me, you know what I mean? And
Go through any program after that? Okay, good.
I did RDAP. It's a residential drug addiction program. I did a program called group therapy. I've done one, pro-social life skills, and I've done AA on outpatient since I've been home. It's required with parole, and I still in Chevyville. There's the AANA. I still go once a month and see them. So it's not as intense now, but still outpatient programming. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
Questions? Is there a motion?
Commissioner Jackson, I motion that we grant the license.
Second.
Jackson motion to grant, and seconded by Commissioner Schaefer Vaughn. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, chair calls for roll call vote. Yes will be to grant the motion. I'm sorry. Yes will be to pass the motion granting the license, and no will not grant the license. Ms. Shaw.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton,
Yes.
Commissioner Barker,
Yes.
Commissioner Fox,
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Norton,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso,
Yes.
Chairman Roberts.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, Mr. Taggart. Thank you. Good
Thank
luck,
y'all.
sir. You're welcome. Good luck. Christopher Monticello.
Chairman Roberts,
Yes, ma'am.
if I could address the commission, the memo included in Mr. Monticello's package was actually a first draft and is not the final memo. I've got a copy of the final memo that I'm going to read into the record, so if you guys would please disregard the memo that's included in the package. Thank you.
Regard the one in the package, we'll have another one read. Go right ahead.
With that, a review of Mr. Monticello's salesperson application and judgments does reveal a fraud in the conduct of business. Under Tennessee Code Annotated, Section 55-17-114-A1F, the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission has grounds to deny an applicant if the applicant or license holder has practiced fraud in the conduct of business. In the case of Mr. Monticello, documentation indicated a charge of theft of state funds in Florida on November 1st, 2017. Applicant received 10 years of probation and was ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $212,546. Applicant's conviction arises from charge arises from his previous endeavors with J&B Auto Sales and Brokerage, LLC in Florida. Applicant had his probation transferred to Williamson County, Tennessee in December of 2017. The applicant received a determination of adjudication withheld regarding his charge and did not receive a conviction. Thus, he cannot be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 55-17-114-A1C, which is the moral turpitude clause. However, the application may be denied, as mentioned in the first paragraph above, under Tennessee Code Annotated 55-17-114-A1F.
Questions about the memo from Ms. Goldstein? Commissioner Jackson.
Commissioner Jackson, explain the fraud theft in Florida 2017. What was that? I didn't catch what that was about.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
Fraud theft that was in Florida in 2017.
Yes, we received documentation that it was theft of state funds, which, when looking into it, was, believe it was 6 or so years of sales tax that was not paid to the state of Florida. And under their state statute, that's what it's categorized as. And as I mentioned before in the memo, this was not a conviction under Florida law. It was given adjudication withheld. So we're not denying it here under the moral turpitude clause like you've seen in past applications. This is under Clause F, which is the applicant or license holder has practiced fraud in the conduct of business. So we're looking at a different portion of the statute here, of our Tennessee statute.
Have that, or do we need to have questions about that Section F?
So if you look on the third page in the packet, you'll see the statutory reference from Florida of what was violated.
Mr. Monticello, would you address the commission, please, a little history on how you got there and where you are now?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. I apologize for having to be here in front of you. I started in the automobile business 18 years ago. I was working for AutoNation, who was a big manufacturer down in South Florida. I worked my way through the ranks, and I had an opportunity to get out in front of the world and open a business. The paper that's in front of you now, I take full responsibility for, but I'll give you a little bit about the background of what happened. In 2012, I was a financial planner. I used to give loans for floor plans on vehicles. I gave floor plan to a company, and they didn't pay me. So what we did is we turned around and we sued the dealership, and we took ownership of the dealership. We then, in turn, we kept the owner there because he was the business operator, and we continued to operate the business with him. In 2014, the owner disappeared, working underneath us. The dealership being in his name, or the business license being in his name, we were just a floor plan operator of the business. We just actually owned the company, non-operational owners. The gentleman disappeared. The state of Florida Department of Revenue came in and arrested the gentleman without our knowledge. That's why he had disappeared. He had got arrested. His name is Alex Ruiz. He was actually the owner of the company. 4 years later, they came in and they arrested myself based upon failure to remit sales tax from the previous owner of the dealership. I'm taking full responsibility of it, obviously. The dealership was in my wife's name. I was not on the dealership license. And I stood up for my family. I have 4 children. I've been married 13 years. It's something that I apologize for. I'm paying it back in that $700 a month increments. I didn't steal something from somebody intentionally. It was something that was turned over into business. It was my wrongful business doings from not exercising my investigative features to go back and look into the person prior to me getting involved with them. So I'm responsible for that aspect of it. I'm moving forward with my life. I've been a clean citizen. I worked for a company for 18 years. I moved to Tennessee to try to get away from all of that. And I apologize for having to be in front of you for being a new person here to Tennessee. But I got to move on with my life and raise my family. I need a job, obviously, to be able to pay this back to the state. And that's why I'm here in front of you today.
$212,000. Was that the amount?
That is the amount, sir.
Okay. And was that, I missed this somewhere in your presentation, was that for sales taxes, not?
Yes, sir. It was failure to remit sales tax.
Not related to the state of Florida? Is that
yes,
what
sir.
that is? What is the sales tax rate in Florida?
7%.
Okay. Is all the missing money, all the $212,000 is sales tax money?
Yes, sir.
How did you register the cars? How did you register? How did you get the title work done?
That was what I was going to say, and once again, I take full responsibility for it. But he actually ran the dealership. We were non-operational owners. I ran a floor plan company, and I just supplied the cars to the dealership. Obviously, I was the face of the dealership at the end because he disappeared. So he would title the vehicles into the name of the company. I changed the name of the company. I went in front of the Florida Automobile, the motor vehicles. They wouldn't reissue the dealership into our name because he was the original owner of it, obviously with the tax ID license to it. So I was wound up, here I am in front of you paying it back. Obviously it's my fault because I didn't check out the gentleman for who he was. I stand at fault because I didn't do my due diligence, and I failed myself and my family by not doing that. And here I am paying the $212,000 back. It's part of my life.
So
and
you got none of the 212, the previous owner?
Yes, sir. He also got arrested as well.
I'm sorry.
The previous owner also got arrested as well. He got charged with it as well.
Paying back any of this?
I beg your pardon?
Is he paying back any of this?
No, he didn't have to pay back any of it.
He didn't have to?
No, sir. He cooperated against me.
Okay. All right. You didn't take the 212. He took the 212, but you're paying it back and not him.
The dealership took the 212, so I'm responsible for it. Yes, my name was part of that. Yes, sir, I did.
Where did the money wind up? Is it?
I wasn't actually.
It was collected from the consumer.
Correct.
And it was not remitted at the courthouse.
Correct.
Okay.
What time frame does this represent?
2012 through 2014. 2011 to 2014. And I apologize. I wish I can give you more answers to that. But like I said, when I bought into the dealership, we actually sued the guy to get into the dealership because he actually had stole money from us. We floor planned him money for cars. He sold the vehicles and he titled them without physical title. So I hired an attorney and we filed a lawsuit against him. The lawsuit, we won the lawsuit, and then that's how we actually got into the dealership.
Was your floor plan company holding the titles?
My floor plan company was. It was J&B Auto Sales and Brokers was my floor plan company. His was J&B Auto Sales and Brokerage. So it was two different entities. Very confusing, sir.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jackson.
It's very confusing. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to get it over with and move on with my life. So I took the full blame, and I said, "Listen, I'll pay it back. Whatever I got to do to make right to the state and make right to my family."
What was your position with the floor plan company?
I was the owner of the floor plan company.
So that was your floor plan money? You were loaning him the money?
Yes, sir.
Have any other clients other than this?
I did.
Commissioner Jackson, how were you responsible for the taxes on those cars if you wasn't the owner, you was the floor planner that was providing the cars to the dealership?
Because my wife, so what happened was when we sued the gentleman for the stealing our titles, and he also got arrested for title fraud as well. We took part of the dealership. My wife went on, obviously, because out of my attorney's recommendation, she went on the actual dealership license. My name was never on the dealership license. So my wife went on the dealership license so that he couldn't steal our inventory. So when there was failure to pay sales tax, they were going to arrest my wife, and I stood up for my wife, and I said, she didn't do nothing. She was the blanket owner, so I took responsibility for it.
Commissioner Vaughn, I have a question. So what percentage of the dealership did the other person own?
Well, it was until he owned the dealership from 2010 until 2012. In 2012, when this all happened with the cars and the floor plan, that's when we came in. So the charge was from 2011 until 2014. He stayed with the dealership. We made him stay as an operator of the dealership, obviously because it's in his name and he was the person who could sign for it, until 2014. In March of 2014, he disappeared. So he came back in and we found out that he had gotten arrested by the state.
How did you wind up in Brentwood?
A friend of mine who actually is the regional director of AMSI, we were employed. We worked together at one of the Ford dealerships down there, and he brought me up here.
The dealership is still in business that's down there now?
No, sir.
It's not. It's out.
No, sir. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, I took full responsibility for my actions. I'm paying the money back. I don't blame anybody else for my wrongdoings. It's my fault that I stood up and I didn't do my due diligence and check into the person. So,
Mr. Jackson, I'm still curious about you stood up for your wife because she was the owner and she was responsible for the sale taxes of the vehicle. I don't know you can do that in a court of law. I mean, if nothing belonged to you, and you just, the judge accepted you standing up for your wife, accepting the fact that the tax wasn't paid on those vehicles?
yes, sir. And that's why they withheld adjudication, because she's seen that obviously it's a economics crime, and that my wife, she has my children, so I wasn't going to let my wife go to jail. Obviously, I was the floor plan company. I stood up as the face of the dealership because once again she was a non-operation owner. The business was just in her name, so obviously they went to her first because her name was on the dealer license. So when I came in, I said, listen, she didn't have nothing to do with this, obviously. I buy the cars, I operate the functioning of the franchising of the floor planning, and it's my responsibility. So, yes, sir.
Ms. Shaw or Ms. Goldstein, does the commission staff have the authority or ability to verify with the state of Florida some of the circumstances of this?
Mr. Chairman, we can reach out to them and bring information back at a later date if you would like that.
I've already included the probable cause affidavit in your package. It's just the front sheet that was available for public information online. There's also, I included the motion to modify probation, so you can see where he transferred here to Williamson County. I've also got the restitution order included. So I'm not sure what further information you'd like to see, but I could reach out to the state of Florida and see what we could find. I will say that I did email with their records management person several weeks ago to see if I could get the full probable cause affidavit and never heard back from them. So I could follow up, but I don't have that with me today.
I think that it's apparent that the time was served, and it's apparent that something went terribly wrong at this dealership. The part that I can't, I'm not processing very well, and I think maybe Commissioner Jackson had the same concern in his question earlier, was why. It's very noble of the gentleman to fade this heat, or to stand up and say, "Hey, I'll do this," but the motivation to do that escapes me a little. That's just a comment, and I don't know how we can get to that point where it makes sense. And maybe I'm missing something, or maybe I'm a little behind the
I'm not aware of a court. If I commit the murder and you come in and say, "I'll take the blame for letting they off," I just don't quite get that. And I know I used the wrong example. That was a bad example to use, but I just, that's the problem I have with it. So I vote my conscience when it come time to vote.
Chairman Roberts, I obviously don't have full details of the case, but it is possible that there was some kind of plea agreement made between the appellant here and the state of Florida for him to accept the charges. So it's not an impossible thing. I know that was one of the questions on the table right now. But is this something you'd like to wait until I can get more information from the state of Florida? We could table it for the next meeting. That is an option as well, if the commission doesn't want to decide on this today.
Well, why don't we hear from the sponsor, and let's see where the thoughts of the commission are at that point. Welcome to the commission, sir.
My name's Jason Stacy. I'm the managing partner of Nissan of Cool Springs. Chris was recommended to me by a mutual acquaintance in November. Our company has some of the most stringent background checks in the industry. We're a large company. I've actually talked to his probation officer here in Williamson County, and it was confusing to me too. And it took me a while I made the decision to hire him anyway. I don't want to go through how she explained it to me, but it is withheld adjudication, which means he wasn't convicted of this. And basically the only thing I can make sense of was he didn't pay his taxes. Somebody in the business didn't pay their taxes. Now, working for me, that's not going to be an issue because he doesn't have anything to do with sales tax. And, our company we run a first-class organization. I can tell you just from November, since he's been with me, he's been a first-class guy. And I don't just hire anybody. I mean, we have a great reputation with our manufacturer. We're right down the road from Nissan headquarters. He has a great relationship with them. I'm assuming he has a good relationship with customers. We don't know that yet, but everything I've told him, he's been on spot, and I think he'd be a great candidate. And I've met his family, and so I can see why he would probably, I don't know how that works either. But as far as him being a good candidate here in the state of Tennessee, he will be a fine candidate. And this is the first time I've come to represent anybody. So thank you.
Commissioner Vaughn, I've got a few questions. So will you be his direct supervisor?
Yes, absolutely.
Will he have any dealings with the F&I side of things, or is he strictly sales?
No, he'll be the general sales manager. But I have an F&I director.
So he'll be the general sales manager, not a salesman? Okay.
We have, just to give you kind of a structure of our company, is we have a comptroller, we have a regional comptroller, and then we have a corporate comptroller. Mr. Monticello will not touch he will be strictly transactional. There will be no there's no way to get anything past us. I mean, so I'm not even really worried about that. So in my dealings with him, I haven't had any of that. 6 months, that I've dealt with him. So.
Question: what is his current role at your dealership now?
Well, originally I brought him in as general salesman. So what he's had to do is I've put him in kind of shadowy role with me because he can't talk to customers because he doesn't have a sales license. So I'm trying to teach him Nissan programs. He's not familiar with Nissan. Nissan's a funny manufacturer. So he's kind of just been kind of learning the role of what I want him to do day to day, because, I mean, it is a big job.
Sure, Galvin. Let's go back to you, Mr. Monticello. The business did not pay the sales tax, so you took the blame for your wife because she apparently was the owner, because you couldn't find the original owner, or he was. During that time, did you know that your wife wasn't paying business tax, and that's why you took the blame? Because I have a hard time taking a blame if you didn't do anything.
Well, here's the thing, the gentleman, like I said, he operated the business up until the point of March. This all happened in July. I got arrested in July. So it was a very few months. We sold the business, obviously, after we found out he got arrested, so we closed down the business very shortly after. So, and we didn't sell much. There wasn't much sales in between March and July because we were just trying to dissipate the business. We were trying to get away from it, get out of it once we found out there was a problem coming. We had already known that we had hired an attorney for the company, obviously, once we found out he got arrested, to try to represent us, to try to figure out how we can get through this. And the commissioner is right. I did take a plea. I plead off of her. So we plead to the court for a lower sentence. That's how I got involved in the ordeal.
Why was it necessary to put the dealership license in her name instead of your name?
Originally?
Yes, sir.
Because we had inventory of 150 cars, maybe over $1.5 million in inventory of our money. We had it on the property that was in somebody else's name. So we had a UCC1, and you could look it up, UCC1. We were the actually holding bonded company that would franchise the cars, they allow the cars to be on the property of another dealership.
Why does that keep you from having the license in your name? If you're going to be responsible for it, stand up for her. Why don't you just put the license in your name to begin with?
As the state of Florida Department of Motor Vehicles, at that dealership, at that address, was already issued a license. So you can't just tell somebody to kick their license out. We tried. I hired attorneys on many occasions to go back in front of the Department of Motor Vehicles to try to kick the guy's license out, but he was still available. He was still there on the property, operating as the owner of the dealership. So when we came in, we actually changed the name of it twice, but it didn't change the license number of the dealership. So the VI license stayed the same, and they wouldn't allow us to change it as long as there was an active address onto the license.
I'm not sure that answered my question. My question is still, why not just your name instead of your wife's name?
My name couldn't be on the license.
That's what I want to ask you. Why not?
I'm sorry? Yeah, because I had an issue back in 1998. I had an issue that I'm not eligible to get a license. When I was very young, at 20 years old, I had a possession charge of narcotics that I got. It's behind me now. I put it in my past way back when I was a kid.
You were not eligible to get a
license?
No, sir. Okay. Now, how many transactions would be represented in this $212,000 worth of sales tax? What price? We know it's 7.25%, but what price cars? How many cars with this? How many transactions would this represent?
We maintain cars roughly between $10,000 and $15,000.
So how many transactions was this before someone discovered that the sales tax wasn't being remitted?
I don't know. Like I said, we didn't come privy till 2014. We didn't even know that there was an issue until 2014. We had been operating since 2012 with this gentleman, and we never heard anything about it.
If sales tax is 7%, and you're
Yes, sir.
paying on the selling price of the car, and you're selling cars for $10,000 to $15,000, you're a minimum of $725 a car.
Yes, sir.
Maybe it's let's just round it up to $1,000 worth of sales tax. So this is 212 cars that were sold before somebody woke up and said,
I agree. Yes, sir.
Doesn't speak very well to whether or not you'd be a good person to be in the business.
Once again, Mr. Commissioner, had I been privy to the information and been in everyday operational sales, I would have been more aptitude to be current with that. I wasn't part of the everyday routine of the dealership. All I did was supply vehicles to the dealership as a floor plan company. That was my whole interaction with the store. I wasn't overlooking or overseeing or anything of the dealership of that aspect of it. So I wouldn't know how many sales or sales tax or vehicles were sold because I didn't partake in that part of that.
not to beleaguer this, but were there not phone calls? Like, where are my tags? Where's my,
Hundreds.
200
Hundreds.
transactions?
Well, no.
Yeah.
What we did once. So what happened was that once they sell a vehicle, the bank would reach out to us for a title. We would then transfer the title over to the dealership, and the dealership would register the vehicle. That's how it partakes. So once we got paid for the vehicle, after that, like I said, as a floor plan company, we are not responsible for taxes. We're a wholesale company. We're tax exempt.
I would just think that if I were a floor plan company and people were coming back saying, customers were coming back saying, I didn't get my title, or my sales tax wasn't paid, or my car's not registered, there'd be some kind of red flag. And
Well, I would think that they would title the vehicle. We did get called by the Department of Motor Vehicles for titles a few times, but the gentleman was actually titling the vehicles. I guess he just wasn't remitting the sales tax. I wish I had more answers for you, Commissioner. I really do.
I have a couple of questions as well. Did your wife have any role at all in the operations of the dealership, or she
No,
just
ma'am.
signed her name?
She just signed her name to protect the assets of our company.
And I have one question, too,
Yes, ma'am.
for you. If this guy's already ripped you off, why would you go into business with him?
It was the only, because we got a partial payment from him, so he ripped us off for about $180,000. And so what he said, that it was the doing of a manager that he had. They fired the manager. His name was Mark Cohen. They had fired him. Our attorney got involved with it. The difference was that's how we got into the dealership, because the difference of the $53,000 that he paid us and the other $130,000, we took ownership of the assets of the store.
Motion, Commissioners. And we had some discussion about some further information, tabling, granting, we can grant or not grant. So we have different ways that we can go. I'm personally not yet getting comfortable with this. And that not necessarily to sway everyone, but if anyone else feels like they're not quite a no, but they're, but they need more information, we can maybe
Turn it down, he is welcome to reapply. So
I feel this, Commissioner Jackson, I feel the same way too. If I had some document from the court that, he accepted the responsibility of his wife not paying the taxes, then I would feel more comfortable making a decision here today, but I don't have that in front of me. And I definitely...
wife come...
You can look up the dealer license. It's in her name. If you go to sunbiz.org and you pull up J&B Auto Sales and Brokerage, you can see who the owners are of the company.
I might have missed this, but did your wife come to Tennessee with you?
Yes, sir. She's here.
Okay. And she's not licensed. Is she in the car business?
No, sir. No, my wife's a stay-at-home mom. We have 4 children.
Okay. Probably said that, and I didn't.
I'm sorry.
Well, I've heard some other cases of kind of things run together. Okay.
Mr. Roberts, I'm going to abstain from voting, but I think that as unusual as the situation does seem, I think another salient point is that the state of Florida did accept it as a reasonable outcome. So I'm not sure what more we're going to get from Florida that's going to ease anyone's minds on this. Is muddy, but again, I'm not sure what more we're going to learn.
The state of Florida did approve for him to come up here, correct? Didn't I read that?
I'm sorry, would you restate that?
The state of Florida did approve for him to come up here.
Yes, that's correct. The probation was transferred with approval from Florida.
You don't have to be unanimous. We can. We're not striving to get to either place. Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Discussion with the probation officer for him, so I could understand it too. he's meeting everything he's supposed to meet. I mean, he gets this behind him. He pays back the $200,000, and I know that's a lot of money, but he's free to move around the country. He's free to do whatever he wants. And I mean, he's moved his whole family here. 4 kids I've all met and stuff, and I mean, I don't know what else. I don't know what else a guy can do. I mean, he's got to work.
We understand, sir. The commission is not here for guilt or innocence. We are trying to make ourselves comfortable with whoever has a license out there. If we grant a license and something happens, we might feel like we haven't done our job. The commission does have a very good record of approvals. Those that have been appealed and have approved, we have a better than 50% success, or those applicants have a better than 60. I think it's 63%, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't want that on the record. That might not be the correct number. But we have a good record of getting through these things and having productive sales. Yes, sir.
The state of Florida, and I apologize to intervene, the state of Florida did withhold adjudication. So they didn't serve as a conviction. They let me plead nolo contendere, as well as they withheld adjudication on the deal. So in the state of Florida, I'm not even convicted of anything. And we don't have sales licenses down there, so I apologize for having to come in front of you. But we made sure that once we did that, the judge understood that, you know, even though the severity of the crime, that she did withhold adjudication, because she understood that of what the positioning was of my presence inside of the. So she didn't convict me guilty. She didn't say you're guilty. She withheld adjudication, knowing that I stood up and did the right thing, even though that there is a consequence behind it, which I am paying, which was a restitution.
One thing that I am a little bit more comfortable with is the fact that he's working for a dealer that's, as far as I know, is in good standings, and he's got several layers of supervision. So I just wanted to say that part too.
Well, Commissioner Galvin, I tend to agree, but I got one question for the owner. I mean, convince me why he would make a good GSM at your store. I can understand our salespeople, but a GSM is a little bit more in depth, a lot to do, and I don't know why if you needed one or whatever, but why would he be such a good GSM?
I've had 3 in 6 years, and the 2 that worked for me before have gone on to do bigger and better things. So I would, out of the 3, he's more talented. He's good with our people. He's been honest with me. And I don't want to bore you with going through our company and our procedures, but we're a hard company to work for. A super hard company. I mean, you look us up, and all of our stores perform at the highest levels in the industry. And, you know, for him to make it through our background check was surprising enough. But he's got all the qualifications you would want in a general sales manager. He's good with the people. He knows the business. I mean, I don't know, you probably can't tell this, but he knows the business inside and out. There's every quality you would want. He's on time every day. He works and works and works. And me, I've got 3 kids as well, so I'm all about family. And that's kind of how I size up my employees. I mean, trust me, I'm taking more liability here than anybody. And so I don't want just anybody working for me. And I feel like half my sales staff's been with me 6 years or better. And so he's part of the team, and he's paying for it. And I'm a big believer in second chances. And a lot of times I don't give second chances. A lot of times I wouldn't stand here. You guys would have come back and said, hey, I'm not giving a license. I mean, you can go back to look at all the denials. You've never seen me before this commission. And so I know he'll do a good job. Here's the other thing. I know he can't do anything to get in trouble with me. There's nothing he can do at my store. You can ask him. I mean, they can't get away with anything. We've got so many controls and so many mechanisms, and not only that, I have my money on the line every day. My whole being is this store. So I mean, I've got my own checkbook involved, and so I'm not going to let somebody ruin that for me either. So that's why I think he would make a good general sales manager. I mean, he's got all the qualifications for it.
I would agree with the gentleman. As I'm familiar with the stores, they do have a quite sophisticated human resources department. They're
Terry Taylor, one of the Terry Taylor stores.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we can certainly entertain a motion.
I'm glad that one of the owners came up because my mind was set a different way, but I feel a little bit more comfortable, and I appreciate my colleagues, the questions she just recently asked. So I'm going to make a motion that we grant the license.
Second.
This Commissioner Jackson.
Commissioner Jackson makes a motion to grant, and Commissioner Schaefer-Vaughn seconds the motion. Any comments on the motion? I will just say I always appreciate the sincerity and the effort that the Commission puts in to arrive at a faith. We'll do our best with this. So, is there further discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, the motion, the response to grant the motion would be yes, and to deny to vote against the motion and deny the license would be no. Commissioner Shaw.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
No.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
No.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Abstain.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Congratulations, sir.
Chairman Roberts, if
Yes, ma'am.
the Commission would like to go out of order here, I do see that there's another applicant from Nissan of Cool Springs in the interest of saving them time, if you would like, or we can stick to the agenda.
Let's just stay with the agenda for now. I would assume if there were a time conflict, we would have heard from it by now. So is there a time conflict for Nissan of Cool Springs? No. Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Sean Fritz, Landers Ford, Collierville, Tennessee. Morning, Mr. Fritz. Okay. Ms. Goldstein.
In the case of Mr. Fritz, the documented conviction is for fraudulent activity connected with computers in the United States District Court for the Western District of Tennessee on October 1st, 2012. Applicant received a sentence of 4 years of probation. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A1C until October of 2021.
Chris, would you give us a little history of how you got to this situation?
Yes, sir. After the conviction, well, prior to that, I was a Memphis police officer. Basically, I ran a tag. The gentleman, Rolex, that he had taken to a jeweler, and it was. I didn't know it, but he was a CI for the FBI, and I ran the tag.
Move you a little closer to that microphone, sir, so we pick you up. Yeah, we heard that you ran the tag, and
I gave him the information, which was illegal, and take full responsibility and accept that. Since then, I have prior to coming to Landers, I worked in West Memphis at the Ford store there for a year in Arkansas. Yes, sir. And I moving out to Collierville to try and be closer to my children. They're teenagers, and Dad's not as cool anymore. So, I'm trying to be a little bit closer so that I can be available to them.
Tell us again why that is a crime. Now, you were a police officer, and you
because I accessed the NCIC, which is a national database, and gave him the information. Well, he was a CI for the FBI. He was working a drug charge off. And I just happened to know him. I didn't know that he was in that kind of trouble. I didn't know him that well. It was one of those, I knew him way back in high school, and I had run across him. He knew I was a police officer, and he got in touch with me.
Of course, this is not about him, but what was the crime that he committed?
All I know is it was a drug charge.
Questions?
Commissioner Norton, why were you targeted? Why would they come to you?
There was, as you know, Memphis police officers have randomly been selected for whatever, buying, selling drugs, and I guess that was the only thing that they could find. He knew that I might be able to do for him. I told him, I said, look, we can fill out a report. We can certainly swear out a warrant. We just need to get this guy's information. And when I had the information, I was moving forward with that, and it turned out ugly rather than pretty.
Jackson, let me make sure I understand. You used a computer to run some information on a Rolex watch, correct?
It was he had taken this watch to a jeweler. He said the jeweler went out of business and filed for bankruptcy, and he needed help trying to find him to get his watch back. No, I didn't take the watch. He gave me a tag to run,
okay,
and I got the information and gave it to him.
Tag of the watch?
No, not the vehicle tag. I'm sorry.
I'm I'm getting confused. So that was against the law for you to do that?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Did you receive any money for doing that for him?
In a roundabout way, yes, sir. It was basically he paid for a trip to go to the Spring River. I numerous times had offered to pay him back, and it was no, don't worry about it.
Cash money?
No, sir, no cash.
But you received a trip for doing
Yes,
that for doing that for him.
Incarcerated?
I did 1 year of house arrest, 4 years probation, and a $5,000 fine.
Second.
We have a motion to grant the license, and Commissioner Barker, seconded by Commissioner Fox. Is there discussion of the motion? Discussion, so we'll call for roll call vote. Yes will be for the motion to grant, and no will be against the motion.
White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans? Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Richard R. Hughes. Franklin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Franklin, Tennessee. Okay, thank you.
In the case of Mr. Hughes, the documented conviction is for sale of cocaine on September 17th, 2010. Applicant received a sentence of 10 years of community corrections. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 55-17-114-A1C until September of 2025.
Mr. Hughes, give us a little background.
Bad decision I made. I was working at a detail shop in Hendersonville.
Let you lean a little forward, sir.
Grew up in East Nashville. Just kind of had a lot of friends. It's just kind of what we done. So it's met a few people. That's what they were into. I had access to it, so I just kind of took advantage of that situation. It turned into something else. Long story short, I end up going to jail for it. Take full responsibility. Something I never did ever since. Since then, I've been married. I'm in church, and me and my wife together we have 5 kids. So 5 kids, you got to have some real income. So filled out the application, got the job, like it. I'm a sales trainee, and I just want to excel my career in this field.
You were selling cocaine. Okay, who were your customers? What were they?
That's what they like, cocaine.
minors, children?
Oh no, they were all adults. It was people I worked with, and then friends of them. So it started with the people I worked with, and then they friends. They told their friends and their friends. So it was all adults.
Commissioner Vaughn, I have a question. On your application, it appears that you marked yes, then scratched it out and put no for a felony conviction.
I put yes, but the lady in HR was saying that at the time it didn't show up. Then it came back. So when I put yes, she was like, "It's nothing on there showing that it's a felony." So she scratched out. So I just said, "Okay." Then it came back. So.
Okay, have you been in any other trouble since this arrest?
No.
Okay. Were you a user or just
No,
a seller?
Just a seller.
Okay.
Currently employed
Yes.
at the dealership?
Yes.
And what is your role there now?
I'm a trainee. Sales trainee.
Gentlemen, you brought with you, like to address the commission?
Thank you for your time this morning. I haven't known Rich very long, but in the 2 months that I've known him, he has been nothing short of a stand-up gentleman. He's on time to work every day. He works hard. I know he's trying to provide for his family. He's made some bad decisions a long time ago, but that truly is no reflection of who he is today. So, by the way, I'm sorry to introduce myself. I'm David Heimgartner, General Manager of Franklin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
Questions or comments?
Commissioner Jackson, just one. Had you had any problem prior to this incident?
Yes, when I was younger, had it was a misdemeanor. It was a theft charge misdemeanor when I was younger. I think we was in Best Buy. I took somebody to Best Buy, but I was really young at that time. But other than that, nothing.
No, nothing dealing with drugs prior to this incident.
I'd like to make a motion that we grant the license.
Motion to grant by Commissioner Schaefer-Vaughn and seconded by Commissioner Galvin. Discussion of the motion? Comments? Concerns? Hearing none, Chair calls for a vote on the motion. Yes will be for the motion license, and no will be against the motion to grant the license. Ms. Shaw.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Louis Anthony Colon. Mr. Colon. Colon has not responded yet. Mr. Colon. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we uphold the denial.
Second it.
Motion to uphold the denial by Commissioner Schaefer-Vaughn, seconded by Commissioner Melton. Any discussion? Motion yes will be to uphold the denial, and no will be to.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Eid Abuzaki. Did I get that close? Abuzaki? Is that?
My name is Aid Abuzaki.
I'm sorry, sir.
Aid Abuzaki.
Abuzaki. Thank you, sir. Okay, Ms. Golston.
In the case of Mr. Abuzaki, the documented conviction is for the unlawful creation of image of another and the unlawful dissemination of sale of images of another on March 14, 2017. Applicant received a sentence of 12 months of probation. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A1C until March of 2023.
That was, again, Ms. Goldstein, that was misrepresentation of an image. What was that?
I apologize. It's the unlawful creation of an image of another and the unlawful dissemination or sale of images of another. And if you'll flip on your iPad a few pages, you'll see the statutory reference from Virginia where the conviction was.
Sir, what did you stand to gain from these unlawful images, if I'm...
So it's I was in college at the time, and I was just with hanging out with some friends. I had a Phantom 4 drone. I used to take pictures of, and I traveled a lot. And really, I just was taking pictures and of bridges, landmarks, Paris, things like that. And ended up one of my friends did not like me taking pictures of them, and I got in trouble for that. But I was never convicted of selling images. I don't know. They just charged. It was strictly just me taking pictures without asking. I didn't think it was a big deal at the time, and ended up just I'm those charges, but I never was on probation for them. These charges happened while I was in Virginia about a year ago, and it was regarding just one of my personal circumstances I had at the time. I moved up there to get closer with some of my family since my parents passed away for a number of years now, and I wanted to get up there, get closer to them, attend university, and do that. I ended up life. I'm really, getting spiritual with myself and really better myself ever since these incidences. I made a number of mistakes, childish, and really just doing foolish things and not doing the right stuff. So ever since that incident, it was about a year ago, I haven't, gotten in trouble with the police or anything like that, and really just trying to better myself since I live in Tennessee on my own, since I wanted to get away from my family and friends I had in Virginia, and really just focusing on bettering myself. So with this opportunity I had at Nissan Cool Springs, they offered me a job, they liked me, and I really felt like I had a career with this company because with my convictions, I worked for Bankers Life, Aflac, a few other Fortune 500 companies, but with Nissan Cool Springs, really felt like a family, really felt like something I could do and excel at for a number of years, nothing that I felt like with Aflac or Bankers Life.
Let me get back to something that I can relate to. This is identity theft?
No, this is literally just me. I was charged with taking pictures without asking. They tried charging me with selling these pictures, but I never sold any of these pictures. And
what was the reason for taking the pictures? Or is that for a fake ID or something to get in and buy booze?
No, it was just a hobby. It was just a hobby of mine. With me and my friends, we used to go to the James River in Richmond. We'd take pictures of the river and the bridges. I had a drone. I would fly it around and do those sort of things. So it really wasn't anything major. I believe the reason why was the differences in laws, why my civil license was held up because of moral turpitude. But in Virginia, those charges were not charges of moral turpitude since they were just misdemeanors.
Commissioner Vaughn, I have a question. Who were the pictures of, and what were the pictures of?
Yeah, so it was just, my friends, landmarks, those type of things. Really, it was just my friends. They got upset at me. I had some arguments. They didn't, we're not upset at the time, but later on, whenever I got in trouble, they, later found out that I had pictures of them, and that's how I got charged with that crime.
Were they naked pictures?
No.
So you just took pictures of people and you got arrested for that?
Well, the reason why I got arrested was not because of taking pictures. The reason I got arrested was for possession of marijuana, and that's how they found I had pictures at all, was because of my drug charge.
That's the way that that's the way you were traced back.
Yes, but apparently that wasn't brought up. But that's how I got into that situation first. It wasn't because of the pictures or anything, but I was, doing drugs. I was in college. I was with my friends. I got caught, got in trouble with it. They did a search warrant on my belongings, and they just found on my drone and pictures of, landmarks and bridges and rivers and then my friends that I wasn't friends with.
One second, please, sir.
If I could address the commission.
Please do.
I will verify that, yes, there was a possession charge, but typically legal does not view possession as violating moral turpitude, so I did not present that to you guys today. I only presented the unlawful creation of the image and the unlawful dissemination of the image. And while they are misdemeanors in Virginia, Tennessee, under our statute, crime of moral turpitude, it doesn't matter if it's a misdemeanor or a felony. We just look at the content behind the crime. And here, if you'll notice on your statutory reference, let's see, page 4 of the applicant's packet, Section A, you'll see the beginning of the unlawful creation charge and what all of that encompasses. And then if you'll flip over to page 6, it has the unlawful dissemination or sale of images of another. So we're not proving whether or not this occurred here today. We've got the information that the applicant submitted that states that he was convicted for these charges. But if you'll review these charges listed here, the statutory reference listed here, you will see what all was needed to have a conviction in Virginia.
Under Section A, is that what you're?
Well, I was just addressing your attention there, yes.
Another question is why is there an amended charge to commit assault and battery?
So the reason why that was there was that was part of the plea agreement, and that the prosecutors added to the plea agreement. The reason why they did that was just so I wasn't able to have gun rights. That was the reason why in Virginia, if you have an assault, you are not allowed to have any gun rights. That was the reason why the prosecutor did that.
Did you download these pictures? Did you put them on the internet?
No, was not shared at all. That's why I was charged with it, but I wasn't found guilty of those crimes. I did not do any time for those crimes as well.
Important question. So you're saying the pictures you were charged for taking, were they taken from the drone, and at the time of the pictures taken, did the individual know you were taking the pictures?
At the time, the individual, we were close, we were friends at the time, but after I got charged with the drug charge, they later found out, and then they were upset at me for taking the pictures. They went along with it, but I was never found guilty or convicted of selling any or sharing any pictures.
Did he have knowledge of you taking the pictures at the time you took the pictures?
Yes.
Okay.
Trying to read this statute.
What are the people in the picture doing? I still don't understand.
No, sold the drone.
I still don't understand why that's a charge.
Goldstein.
We're not.
I'm having trouble reconciling what I'm reading in the Virginia statute versus what I'm hearing from Mr. Ozaki.
Yes.
So, do you have any clarifying information?
Well, I was withholding reading the statute on the record to, I guess, leave the applicant with some. I was just trying to be a little PC, but I can read the statute into the record that he was found convicted for if you'd like me to. I see what you're saying. There's conflicting information from what the statute says the, charge and conviction were for versus what the applicant is stating before the commission.
Sir, what's important about this process that we're going through is we're not here to retry you. We're not here to get you to admit to guilt or innocence. You're reporting to us your circumstances, and whether or not the commission feels it's truthful has an influence on it. I'm not trying to sway anybody at this moment, but trying to go through the process. We need to feel like you're being truthful with us about what happened. You've already been convicted of something, and that's not our business. But
so I was just saying,
I'm not connecting between what you're saying and what I'm reading.
So what I was saying was that I was charged with taking the pictures, convicted of those crimes, but I was only charged with this. I was not convicted of those. They were just no process, and that was all. I never did any time for. But it was nothing I was convicted of or anything.
It's a felony conviction under Virginia law.
So on Virginia law, what states crime of moral turpitude would be those misdemeanors involving lying, cheating, stealing, and making a false statement, petite larceny. But I believe from what Ms. Goldstein said was the Tennessee laws are a little bit different, and that's why I was able to have an insurance license in Virginia after these convictions. But I'm also licensed in Tennessee for health insurance as well after these convictions. Yes.
And
you're licensed to sell health insurance, but you want to be in the automobile business.
So the reason why I wouldn't do that is because this is honestly the only career I felt that I was able to excel at and really do for years and years and years. I worked for Bankers Life and Aflac for about a year or two, but working with Nissan, I really felt like I could do something that was going to put me in a better place.
Chairman Roberts, just as a correction, I do apologize. The applicant is correct with the stating that the second charge was not actually convicted. I just saw that was the final disposition was a no. I'm sorry, I don't know how to process. It was pleaded down and the charges were dropped. So we're only looking at the unlawful creation, not the unlawful dissemination.
Creation of
the image. So the statutory reference that I included, the first one, is he did receive the conviction for that, but the second one, the dissemination, that was pled down. So the commission should no longer consider the second statutory reference.
Does that influence the staff's position on denial of this license? Is it still?
Well, it's not necessarily that we recommend that you approve or deny. We more so bring you the information that says, in this case, you are allowed to approve or you are allowed to deny this case under the law if the commission would like. So essentially, it's the commission's decision.
But we are still allowed to deny.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Dealership with it? Is anyone?
Yes, there is.
Zaid, I got to admit, I haven't had a ton of contact with him, but our sales manager staff has told me, in the time I have spent with him, he's very attentive. He's super sharp. He's working on getting certified. We all know good salespeople are hard to find. And so just the time that we've spent with him, he's been a pretty good employee. So we haven't had any problems with him so far.
I don't know if I need more information or if I need better clarification. I'm kind of falling in the clarification category, I think, as much as anything. And
I do apologize for the confusion that legal caused on our end.
This is something we haven't seen before. So summarize this again, and take it with what we know, and we have a felony conviction for taking unauthorized pictures. Is that?
Oh, it's a misdemeanor conviction.
Okay. All right. Well, let me get an interpretation. If it's a misdemeanor, we don't have the authority to deny. Is that correct?
That's incorrect. Under Tennessee's statute, we can deny for a crime of moral turpitude. It does not specify whether that's a misdemeanor or felony. However, the Commission in the past has looked favorable upon misdemeanors, and we've typically seen that they've still granted the license after hearing the situation. It's not necessarily an official a rule in our rules that we just approve every misdemeanor that comes through, but it has been a policy of the past Commission.
This is a case of moral turpitude, but the crime itself is a misdemeanor, and the misdemeanor is for taking unauthorized pictures.
That's correct.
Help me. Boy, be careful taking pictures.
Of course, I'm looking at the Virginia statute, though. It sounds like the pictures are not just pictures, so that's my concern. So
Yes. The Virginia statute is, so I will read it into the record. It shall be unlawful for any person to knowingly and intentionally create any videographic or still image by any means whatsoever of any non-consenting person if that person is totally nude, clad in undergarments, or in a state of undress so as to expose the genitals, pubic area, buttocks, or female breast in a restroom, dressing room, locker room, hotel room, motel room, tanning bed, tanning booth, bedroom, or other location, or the videographic or still image is created by placing the lens or image gathering component of the recording device in a position directly beneath or between a person's legs for the purpose of capturing an image of the person's intimate parts or undergarments covering those intimate parts when the intimate parts or undergarments would not otherwise be visible to the general public, and when the circumstances set forth in Clause 1 or 2 are otherwise such that the person being recorded would have a reasonable expectation of privacy.
my concern.
Okay, now, here's my concern with that. Sir, are you telling us that you had a misdemeanor conviction under this law, but you didn't take nude pictures of somebody or inappropriate pictures?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like I said,
Yes, or you did not, or yes, or you did?
yes, sir. I did not. It was really something that was blown out of proportion on my end. You know, I was just being foolish and just hanging around with friends and stuff. But it wasn't like I was in the room hiding somewhere taking pictures.
I'm not
of
asking that, sir. I'm just asking your misdemeanor conviction. And again, we're not here to retry this. We're trying to determine whether or not you're being truthful with the commission. That's my problem with it right now. Maybe that's somebody else's. But you're saying you didn't take inappropriate pictures, but yet you had a conviction for that.
Yeah, so on my charges, I have also an assault and battery. I never did. It was just part of the plea agreement that we established with the prosecutor.
Trying to establish whether or not you're telling us the truth.
Yes,
my
sir.
concern is with that statute. I mean, what are the pictures of? Are they girls? Are they?
So I had it was numerous pictures. It was me with my drone. It was me in Paris. It was a number of pictures with my friends and things like that.
For the conviction.
So what I got in trouble with was with my friends. They were females. They found out that I was taking pictures of them without asking, and that's why they got upset. But during the pictures, they was never upset about them or anything like that. It wasn't like I was in a room taking nude pictures of them at all. You know, they were mostly public places. I was in a dorm. I had some pictures when we were in a dorm, but it was honestly just when the relationship ended with the females, they just got upset.
Still photographs or videos?
Still. The only thing I had with the drone was, just over of the river and the bridge and everything of the James River. But honestly,
a dormitory is a really good place to start taking inappropriate pictures.
Well, the dorm was with 4 roommates. We all lived together, so I wasn't just by myself. I lived with a bunch of kids, and we was also on the Siegel Center at VCU, where we lived with a bunch of the athletes as well.
Further comments, or is there a motion?
Commissioner Jackson, I understand what my colleagues are, but do we have any proof of any of those images that they was not covered up? Do we
Only
have
information I have is the convictions that were submitted by the applicant, and then my research into what statute was violated in Virginia.
My concern is he's dancing around the issue and not being very direct. You keep bringing up bridges when we know, the bridge probably wasn't scantily clad.
It was a hobby of mine. I used to take pictures, and
I'm still speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My concern is you are not being upfront and honest with us when we're trying to help you. And you obviously have a conviction for something. Nobody wants to hear about the bridge that you took a picture of. We understand that you took a lot of pictures, but my frustration is I feel like you're not being straightforward with us. And that's all we're asking. We've heard a lot of stories from a lot of people over the years, and that's the only thing we're asking for is for you to be honest.
I understand that, and I was honest about the conviction and how it was no process and everything. I'm just being honest with you about what I was doing. That was really it.
Well, it took a little while when I've asked questions before for you to finally say something about taking pictures of girls in the dorm. You didn't mention that earlier when you knew that's exactly what I was asking.
Well, it wasn't just that. I was just explaining. It was.
I understand you made that clear, but the conviction, the pictures that were part of this conviction is the only ones that I cared about.
I understand that.
I have a question that may help. Could you specifically tell us why those women were offended by the pictures you took? I mean, that's what we're trying to get here, and that's the question of the honesty thing that we're having trouble with.
The reason why was because I was having a relation with them. You know, we were close and everything. Whenever I got charged with the possession of marijuana, they ended up getting a search warrant for all of my, my laptops, my belongings, and everything. But really, what happened is we ended up, ending things, separating things, and between the girl I was with, the police came up to her. They said, "Hey, we noticed that you was with this guy, whatever. He was charged with this crime. We found some pictures of you. Do you recognize these pictures?" And they said, "No. Did you have a relationship with this guy? Were you friends with him? So and so?" They said, "Yes."
Excuse me, sir. Let me repeat. We're not here to judge you on your conviction.
Okay,
we're trying to understand why that your storyline
So
does
it
not
was
match.
the reason why it was honestly they just got upset because I didn't take it without asking. The relationship ended badly, and they just wanted to take it out on me. It really was nothing major. The only thing that was more important in the pictures, I was a drug charge because I didn't have anything regarding the pictures.
We're just going in circles. Are you telling the commission that the misdemeanor charge that you have, you didn't do that?
No.
In this law.
No, I'm saying that I was charged with it. I was just explaining the circumstance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question.
I have another question or two, and let's make it.
If you had, you're charged with possession of marijuana, what led them to want to go in and do a search warrant on your computers and things like that?
The reason why was because I was going through a lot with my family. They were worried about me. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and so they called the police on me. They wanted to do a checkup on me, see on my well-being, and so that's how they ended up finding the marijuana. And they ended up taking me in and questioning me about how was I feeling, that I didn't make any threats, and that's how I ended up going through that with all the other charges as well.
Questions that haven't been asked.
But
I'll ask for
I was working for Bankers Life beforehand, and I was able to go back with them. And I've worked for a number of companies since my convictions.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we uphold the denial.
Second to the motion, Commissioner Murray. Is there discussion of the motion? Okay. Yes vote will be to uphold the denial. A no vote will be against the motion to uphold the denial. Commissioner Shaw. Roll call, please.
Commissioner White?
No.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
No.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
No.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Oh, Commissioner Tomaso?
Abstain.
Motion carries to uphold the denial.
Or you can reapply at a later time. Thank you very much. Vicki Evans. Vicki Evans. Autoplex, Clarksville, Tennessee. Good morning, sirs. Holstein.
In the case of Mr. Evans, the documented conviction is for 11 counts of theft in the 1,000 to 10,000 category on September 18, 2014. Applicant received a sentence of 3 years to the Tennessee Department of Corrections. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 55-17-114A1C until September of 2022.
Evans, would you give us a little history on your
Yes, sir.
circumstances?
I opened that. I had a roofing company for about 3.5, almost 4 years.
little closer.
Licensed at the time.
A little closer to the mic.
Okay. I'd say where I was licensed at the time, I've already been licensed in the state of Tennessee. I ran this company for a long time. I was at Lexus for probably 4 years and opened this company just as a side company because I had my wife at home and my 3 children, so just to make extra money. Built the company up and started doing real well. Ended up leaving Lexus and going full time with this business with our roofing company. I had real well with the company for 3.5 years. Very successful with it. Me and my wife was the one that built the company from nothing all the way to where it was. Started building it a little too fast and had a lot of employees, and things just got out of hand. I ended up bankrupting the company and losing my home and everything else in behind it. I took full responsibility. The money that was given to me, I was to go out there and spend this money the way it was, but things got ahead of us and we started getting behind with Better Business Bureau, and once that got behind, I couldn't sign any new business, and once my new business went behind,
Conviction was for, let me go back and catch up, because part of that broke up from the mic. But what was the felony conviction for?
It's for 11 counts of theft in the $1,000 to $10,000 category.
These roofing jobs you were prepaid for, and you didn't
sir, I was
deliver the roofing
paid
job?
partial payment for them. Usually they pay 60% up front and then pay the other 40%. Considered I've put on over 200 plus roofs in 3 years, so I mean, out of the way, I've been in the cars industry for almost 18 years. I spent most of my life in that. I out of the realm and go into something I didn't really know that much about, and it got away from
How much money involved? Write down just a tad, if you would, sir, and see if it'll, there we go. Yeah, let me see if it'll pick up.
And you can see on page 5 of the applicant's package on your iPad has the restitution attachment that's got the list of who was harmed and the amount owed to each.
Commissioner Vaughn, I have a few questions. Are you making restitution payments?
I am, yes, ma'am. I've already started paying the restitution as soon as I got out. I've already established a new home in the last couple of months. I've been a hard worker my whole life and spent most of my life. My career is the car industry.
Have you had any other issues since this? Okay. No drug or alcohol issue? Okay.
Never had any drug or alcohol issues or arrest or anything.
Commissioner Norton, I see the amount, $60,503. What are the terms of the restitution? How much you're paying? Is that a set amount?
Right now, it's about $350 a month until I start making more money. I've only been out.
What are the terms? Is it a percentage, or what are the terms of the restitution?
Yeah, they usually set a percentage through the courthouse. It's, I want to say it's set at like,
Could we hear from the gentleman that came with you, sir? Sir, would you like to address the commission on behalf of Mr. Evans?
Owner of Autoplex in Clarksville, Tennessee. Nick was recommended to me from a good friend of mine that worked at the Lexus store, Mike Davenport. He was a manager there for 27 years and before his conviction. I've only known Nick for a couple months. I got a phone call, said, I've got a good man to work for you. Nick's been a very good employee. He's on time. I've done a little checking his past, and like you said, he's never had a drug problem, no convictions, prior conviction that he had. I think he'll make me a great. He has made me a great employee, you know. License.
How long have you been in business, sir?
35 years in Clarksville.
Thought I recognized.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Further questions?
I'd like to make a motion that we grant the license.
Commissioner Jackson, second it.
Motion to grant the license by Commissioner Vaughn and second by Commissioner Jackson. Is there discussion of the motion? Calls for roll call vote. Yes for the motion will grant, and no will not grant.
White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you. Herbert Linderman, Wholesale Auto, Cleveland, Tennessee.
In the case of Mr. Lenderman, the documented conviction is for conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine on October 7, 2010. Applicant received a sentence of 87 months to the United States Bureau of Prisons. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A1C until approximately January of 2023.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Tell us about your activity, what you got into, and just briefly.
I was convicted of conspiracy from 2007 to 2010 in that range area. 2010 I was charged, and I was guilty of what I was doing, and was sentenced. While I was in prison, I went through, excuse me, 3 drug programs, and after my release, I went through CADIS in Chattanooga, which is an aftercare program, and I was still under, temporarily under the probation office out of Chattanooga. They're getting ready to take me off. I'm a low-risk offender. You know, I still have random drug tests.
Were you employed while you were selling, you were distributing amphetamines? Does that mean you were selling?
Yes, sir.
You're selling or sharing? Or what?
Selling and sharing. Okay. I was not actually arrested with any drugs, but it was a conspiracy I had, you know.
Were you working at that time? Or
I had my own car lot from December of 1994 to 2007 or 2008. And
anything else in your past that, well, we don't need to know everything. Let me rephrase that.
Any more convictions?
Yeah, any more convictions?
Yes, sir. In 1984, I had a charge of professional gambling. They charged me with making bets.
Chickens?
Sir?
Roosters, chickens?
Sports, football games, basketball, baseball. And late August of 1984, they charged me with possession of cocaine, and I was sentenced to 30 months on that. So over a 25-year period, I've had 3 convictions. Now, right now, I've come home to tuck over as a caregiver for my mother, and she has dementia, and I've had her the last 3 years. Well, I've got everything, our schedule more or less lined out during the day. I take her to adult daycare, and I've got a few hours during the day when it'd make me feel good to do something productive, you know. So.
Did you bring anybody with you today?
Oh, no, she's in adult daycare today.
Did you bring someone from the dealership with you today? Yes, sir. Sir, would you like to address the commission?
My name's Jason Hahn. I've had the dealership like 15 years. Junior's been friends of my family forever. He came up to me and asked me, he said, he's got Mom straightened out, and he said, I need something to do. I asked him if he'd like to go to the auctions with me and do, day-to-day activities. He said, yeah. Well, I applied for it, and we got denied. Other than that, I've known him all my life. I've been around the car business since a minute to now, and I couldn't say no to him. I knew his situation with his mom and whatnot, and I'm not going to do nothing to jeopardize me. I've never had a conviction, never had nothing. I've got 3 kids. He'll have to be an asset, or he'll have to be able to take care of Mom. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of them deals, but I think he's a good guy. I think he learned his lesson.
You don't want him to come and bring some of those bad habits to your place of business.
That's not going to happen. No, sir. No. Trust me, I got good eyes. I got a father there that, as many of y'all, if you've been around since '85, he's well known in the automobile business for years. I got to keep close eyes on him.
You do lot financing some, and
very little.
Okay.
Before this, I worked with Johnny Holden up at Pioneer Credit for a couple of years, and then I went out on my own back in '02.
Question, Commissioner Norton. What will Mr. Leonard be doing for you? You mentioned you taking to the auction.
Just driving and going with me to the auctions. I travel 2 or 3 sales a week, transporting cars. If I'm at the auction, of course, these auctions ain't 2 or 3 lanes no more. They're 35 lanes. You can't be on both ends of the building. I make a list of cars that I buy for dealerships, and he'll be carrying on with buying them. We'll have figures in our head. We'll know what we're doing before we do it.
So you're a wholesale dealer.
Wholesale, and I do small retail. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying he has to have a license just to get in the auction.
He's got to have a salesman license. There in the license and the auctions, and hey, you never know when somebody's gonna pop in on you, but it's all good. I want everything to be on the up and up.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a cycle going here.
That's the first time I ever come over here.
Any further questions from other commission members?
A motion that we grant him the license.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jackson to grant the license, seconded by Commissioner Norton. Is there discussion of the motion? Chair, here's no discussion. We'll call for a roll call vote on the motion. The motion is to grant. Yes would be for the motion to grant, and no would be to not grant. Director Shaw.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries to grant.
Thank you.
Yep. Good luck, sir. Are there any more appeals, Ms. Shaw?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Let me take a moment to introduce a guest in the audience, Assistant Deputy Commissioner Carter Lawrence. Would you like to say hello to the commission, sir? I caught you. I thought you'd appreciate that, sir.
I just wanted to come down and say hello. I don't get to come down as often as I'd like, but I found myself with a opening in my calendar. It looks like I had inadvertently scheduled a meeting with you, Paula. And when you hadn't showed up, I thought, where is Paula? It's not like her to be late. And I realized that, of course, y'all were meeting. So I thought since I had the time, I'd come down, say hello at a time when didn't have anything to ask of you, no requests or anything, just to say hello. Thank you, the commissioners, for the good work you do, especially to your esteemed chairman. And then also I wanted to give a big thank you to Paula and to the rest of the Motor Vehicle Commission staff and to the legal team also. I think they're doing a really excellent job. As you, the commission, are aware from the metrics that you get to see, but also from an administrative perspective that things are just running really well right now. So I wanted to just come down, give you that brief update, say hello, see if there was anything that you needed from me that I could do without preparing, since I came down here unprepared, so take it easy on me. But if there's anything I could do to help, answer any questions, I'm available to help out.
I was hoping you were coming with no agenda, so, but you're welcome and glad to have you, and we appreciate the staff. They work hard, and each of them. Questions for the commissioner? Okay.
Easy enough. Well,
Unless
fantastic.
Unless you want to apply for a salesperson's license, that's all we've got, sir.
Not today, thank you. I'm
sir.
going to go back to spilling powdered sugar on myself.
Thank you
And
very much.
give me a pass for not showing up for that meeting, please.
That's on us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And good to see you back.
Thank you, sir. Anyone need a break?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a 10-minute break.
I knew he did that.
That's an enthusiastic yes. 10 minutes, please.
So some of you with your dealer licensing needs, you will be working with him. You come to us from what, Department of Health?
Yes, ma'am.
He also worked in licensing there. Felicia Ballard is our dedicated staff for insurance and bond. The commission office did not previously have a person dedicated just for monitoring insurance and bond. It was kind of an ancillary task to someone else. So Ms. Ballard has joined us and takes care of that and does a very fine job, I might add. And then Jim Harper has joined us. He previously worked in the department, was promotion for him. He's working with the dealer licensing and some of the administrative management responsibilities. He was in the physical office mailroom.
Physical, yes.
Yes. So we're very proud to have them join our team. They're doing an excellent job. And I just wanted you to be able to put faces with names. And I want to also always recognize Jason because he is my right hand, Jason Gillum. And then Chris Russell back in the back. He works with your dealer licensing. He's been with us about a year now, Chris. And he has been amazing. So we just have an outstanding team. There are a couple more members, Tim McCoy that is not here today, and Marcia Bynum, who works with more of the administrative functions, but I just can't say enough about them and our legal team who are working with us very closely, and we really appreciate that.
Oh, Mr. Merritt and Ms. Ballard and Mr. Parker, welcome to the commission. We think we have the best one in the Department of Commerce and Insurance. Hope you do too. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and move forward with the director's report. We have currently, as of April 16th, 3,787 licensed dealers. We have 38 applications in process, 133 distributor manufacturers, 29 auctions, 582 representatives, 16,364 salespersons, 267 dismantlers, 38 recreational vehicle dealers, 65 recreational vehicle manufacturers, and we have issued 6 motor vehicle show permits. The complaints open from January until March 2018. The number of complaints opened is 185. Number of complaints closed is 155. Annual sales reports to date, we are still in the late reporting cycle, but as of date, we have 1,256,551 vehicles sold, with an additional 8,322 recreational vehicles sold. Total online sales reports of our dealers, we had 2,428 of our total dealer population of 3,700, and that's in a year's time. So I think we've made a lot of progress on online activity. Late annual sales reports collected, we've had 303 late annual sales reports submitted and $30,300 in late penalties paid. The performance metrics, our average number of days for licensing is 4.52 days. That includes all licensing types in a group. So we're really proud of that because we are usually either at number 1, number 2 position in the department, and these people are responsible for that. They do just an outstanding job. Our productivity factor is at 153.7%. Our customer-focused government goal is 110%. Compliance, we are currently at 92.89% as of March 2018 for the complaints being processed, closed, or moved to adjudication or litigation in a timely fashion. The customer satisfaction rating, our quarterly satisfaction rating is at 99.2%. Our quarterly satisfaction rate combined with centralized complaints is 98.8%. Disciplinary action report, January 2018 to March 2018, you have $134,535.36 assessed. That does not reflect your actual collections. That's just what's been assessed at this point in time. The online adoption of all professions at this point in time, again, this is in a year's time, is 74.44% for all 1010, which is new applications, new dealers, new license, anyone that's going into business, and that's what they need to be able to go to work. And then we have one remaining 1010 application transaction pending development in IT, which is the auto auction application, but all materials have been submitted to IT for development. Fiscal information, we are currently at $147,669 deficit currently in this year, and this is our low year, our low renewal year. And then I just wanted to add, on outreach, I am working with the Independent Dealers Association to help coordinate some meetings where we can meet with the dealers across the state and talk with them about the inspection process and how to help prepare them for the inspection process. That is kind of a follow-up to our inspection sheet, which we revamped a year or two ago, and talking with the new executive director, we thought that might be a good opportunity to get some information to them to help prepare them a little better and educate them. So we are working, trying to coordinate some times when our schedules can work together. And also last week I had an opportunity to join a group in Milwaukee where the snow was deep. It's American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, and they're working on national standards for internet vehicle sales, trying to develop, develop best practices. And so I was very excited to be part of that group. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Questions for Ms. Shaw regarding the report? Ms. Shaw, the deficit is 147 so far this year?
Currently at 147,000.
Okay. As she mentioned, licenses are in a 2-year cycle. This will be a down year for us. Not unusual to have a deficit every other year. Have enough when we're on the cycle that we have enough surplus to offset the following year. We're tracking to do that, and we will have a budget and audit committee meeting scheduled before. Jumped a little ahead of that on the agenda, but
it just seemed fitting.
Anyway, the matrices are just really phenomenal what they do here. You're hearing these 98, 99%. It's true. I see some of the reports, and they're as good as advertised. So, staff, thank you very much. Okay, is there a motion to approve the director's report? I heard Jackson and then Commissioner Barker. Those in favor by voice vote of the motion to approve the director's report, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Legal report, Ms. Page and Ms. Brown and Ms. Goldstein.
Thank you, members of the commission. In the committee today, we talked through the legal report. We didn't have as many edits this time as we normally do. Really, it's more for clarification. Just to let you know what we discussed in that committee. Number 88 and number 160, in addition to the discipline that is recommended by council, we're going to look into the license status and make sure that those applicants our licensees are following through to make sure their licenses are getting active status. Both of those had expired licenses. Additionally, on entry 177, we're going to include in the letter of warning language notifying that respondent that they need to apply for a license as part of that letter, just as extra information for them. So with that, Shalina and I are both here for questions. We also had 2 cases from Robin Ryan on a supplemental report. She's taken on some litigation to help us out after some of the attorneys have swapped around upstairs, get some of those things cleared out. And we also have one from our brand new attorney, Ashley Gino, which is at the very end of that report, just to represent from a case she actually took from me that I walked through with her. So that's what we have. So if you have any questions, we're here and do our best to try to fill in any details you may need.
Is there a motion to approve? And Commissioner Jackson chairs that committee.
So moved.
For him. Motion to approve the legal report, Commissioner Vaughn, seconded by Commissioner Fox. Discussion by voice vote. Those in favor of approving in favor of the motion to approve the legal report, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Legislative update, Ms. Goldstein.
Yes, I'm going to give a brief legislative update and also a brief rules update. If you'll remember the salvage disclosure rules that the Commission worked on several months ago, Ms. Shaw and I presented those rules to the Government Operations Committee of the Legislature last week, and they were approved, and they will be effective May 24th. So that's good news for the Commission, and we will send out an electronic notify to all licensees about a week before the effective date, just so they're aware of the new salvage disclosure electronic option. And for a legislative update, I'm just going to highlight one that directly affects this commission. I passed out a copy of the Fresh Start Act to you at the beginning of the meeting. This bill was signed by the governor and will become effective on July 1st. It's a new way for boards and commissions that regulate professional licenses to review felony convictions. So there will be quite a few changes to how we review the moral turpitude clause of our Motor Vehicle Commission statute. And our department will probably be creating policy as to how we are going to be utilizing this new law as far as procedures in place. But if you'll note, the convictions have to, under the new law effective July 1st, have to directly relate to the applicable occupation, profession, business, or trade. There are several exceptions noted for those convictions where they're registered on the Tennessee sexual offender or violent sexual offender list or the Tennessee animal abuser list. There's also some exceptions to some boards you'll see are excluded from this law, like the Board of Law Examiners and the Board of Judicial Conduct. Looks like financial institutions and physicians, but unfortunately the Motor Vehicle Commission was not exempted from this statute, so it will apply to us starting July 1st. And legal will work with the department to give you more information as to how this will affect our appeals process and what you need to know as far as approving and denying future felony convictions.
Do you anticipate that this would decrease the number of appeals that we would see?
I think this will decrease the number of appeals we will see. For example, a lot of the drug charges we won't be able to deny under this new law, so you won't see those coming before the commission. And I will give a more thorough legislative update at our July meeting once we see what other bills were signed into law and what other bills directly affect this commission. Sir.
Motion to approve the legislative report.
So moved.
Commissioner Vaughn, and seconded by Commissioner Fox. Discussion? Hearing none, a vote of yes will be to approve the legislative report, and no would be to not approve it. Those in favor of the motion to approve the the legislative report, say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. And, do we have committee reports today? I did comment on the budget and Audit Committee, and we'll be meeting before the July meeting.
Mr. Chairman, we have no committee reports at this time. However, we do anticipate that we will need to schedule meetings between this date and our July meeting to talk about potential rules as a result from the legislative changes, and then also the Audit Committee meeting that you referenced.
Question, who's on the Budget Committee? Does anybody fall off?
No. Clayton?
Audit, which one, budget?
Commissioner Parr, Commissioner Melton.
Commissioner Melton. Parr fell off, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jason. Finish. Three now?
Those of you who are on the rules, Commissioner Vaughn chairs, Commissioner White, Commissioner Lee, Commissioner Fox, Commissioner Murray, and Chairman Roberts, at-large member.
The questions. Do we need to vote on we didn't have a committee report, so I guess we don't vote on that. Okay, any new business, Ms. Shaw? Any old business, Ms. Shaw?
Old business.
Good. The remaining item on the agenda is sometimes my favorite part, the adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
And those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those that want to hang around, say no. Thank you.
We had too many seconds.
I got to get rid of my badge.